There's some out there that believe that fast speeds, tall heights, and big jumps equate to dangerous. But they're sorely mistaken. That's not danger.
He understands someone that gives their life to be a light and salt in this world is dangerous. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. He understands when homes are strong, churches are going to be strong. When churches are going to be strong, the community is going to be strong. When communities are strong, nations will be strong. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous. That's dangerous.
In our series, Dangerous, the simple title of tonight's message is The Most Dangerous Year of Your Life. What if you made from, what's the date today? August 22nd? Yeah. From August 22nd, 2015, 365 days from now, August 22nd, 2016, what it would be like if you just committed to having the most dangerous year of your life, just across the board. But like I said in that video, what you should actually do, the ironic thing, is that a dangerous life is not those kind of dangers that we think about. And even people who are constantly thrill-seeking, who are constantly chasing danger, there's something still missing inside of them. They have an addiction to thrill-seeking because something else is missing. What would it mean if we boiled everything down to four things? I'm going to challenge you with four things today. That in my life, in the life that I've lived in the past 26 years, talking to mentors, living with friends, understanding relationships, having counseled marriages, relationships, friendships, across the board, working under people like Chris Brown and Larry who have been doing this for twice as long as I've been alive. They've been doing ministry. And so I guess boil everything down to what does it look like to actually live a life not for yourself. Because guys, that's the most dangerous life. The most dangerous life is this. The most dangerous person in this world is someone who has zero fear of the number one thing people threaten them with. Right? If the rest of the world's greatest fear is dying, I don't want to die. If you're a Christian and you're living a dangerous life, you can't even, if you even threaten me with death, you've actually just ushered me in to the greatest love I've ever known. I get to see love face to face. So there's nothing to be afraid of. That's a dangerous person. Okay? One of my favorite movies growing up was a movie called The Replacements. You ever seen The Replacements? It's a story about, there's this football team, and they're so overpaid that they end up, but they want more money so they go on strike. So all these really famous football players all quit the NFL, and they're going to picket, hopefully, that the owners are going to pay them more money. And so in the meantime, in order to field teams, they started bringing in random people like ex-college quarterbacks that no one really, they were off like cleaning boats and doing other dumb stuff, so they had to pull together this team of scabs. Right? That's what they call people who come in underneath a strike line. They call them scabs. So like if Bonds went on strike and they're like, we're not working until you raise the wage. And a bunch of people are like, shoot, I'll work for what they were making. They're called scabs. So there's a bunch of scab players now playing on this team, and the coach says something that I love. He looks at that group of people, and this was their last game they were going to play. They didn't have a contract. The old players were going to come back. They were going to get paid. And this group of scabs now was going to be back on the streets. And he says, there's something you need to understand, that team should fear you because there's no tomorrow for you. There's no tomorrow. You don't have to worry about the game you're going to play next week. This is your last game. This is what our life is like. We don't fear the eternity. If we're Christians, our eternity is already covered. What we do exist in right now is the here and now. How do we make the best of it? How do we live the most dangerous life right now? Number one. If you guys have your Bibles, open the book of 1 Philippians. Not 2 Philippians. 1 Philippians. Philippians chapter 1. Okay? The first point being this. Number one, expand your comfort zone. Okay? Expand your comfort zone. Notice something. What's very popular to say when we talk about comfort zones is to say what? If someone's challenging you in a comfort zone, they say, hey, you should go ahead and step out of your comfort zone. Step out of your comfort zone. Guys, that's a temporary fix to a bigger problem. To step out of your comfort zone means that eventually I'm going to do what? Go back into it. I've got this little bubble of what I'm comfortable with. Step out, okay. And then back in, right? I have a little period of time that I'm out and then I go back in. What we need to be challenged with, what Christians are constantly challenged with, is what does it look like to grow that comfort zone? How do I practice things that aren't natural to me enough that it becomes, my circle gets bigger. My zone grows. So that what I wasn't comfortable with before, I'm now comfortable with. First, Philippians chapter 1, beginning at verse 6 says this. I am confident of this, that he who began a good work in me will carry it on to completion until the day of Jesus Christ. So, in other words, what God's saying is, if any of you think that in your current state, like you've reached it, like you've made it, you're done, you're not. But we also have confidence in this, that if we're trying to pursue Christ and do His will, God's going to carry us on and finish that good work that He started in us. Do you have a gifting? As far as the church is concerned, God's going to grow that gifting if you're going to allow Him. Okay, a great story that illustrates this is Moses. So if you guys have heard the story of Moses in the Old Testament, it's in the book of Exodus. God's people are in slavery in Egypt. The group called the Hebrews, or the group called the Israelites. They're enslaved in Egypt. And Moses is called by God through a burning bush. This is a miraculous thing. It's on fire, but it's not being consumed. It's just this ever perpetually burning bush. And so Moses is tending his sheep in the land of Midian, and he walks up and he's like, what the frick is going on? So he walks up to the bush, and the bush starts to speak. And Moses is like, did I drink already today? Because this is crazy. And out of the bush, God speaks. He gives his formal name to Moses for the first time. He says, Yahweh. You can call me Yahweh. Tell the Egyptians that Yahweh sent you. I want you to go to Pharaoh himself, the God King, and tell him to let all of my people go. And Moses' response, what's Moses' response? But I have a speech impediment. And Moses tells him, God, you don't know what you're talking about. Yet God, you who made me, who knows everything, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, you are outside of time, you see the future, you see the past, you see everything. Let me tell you something, God, I can't do it because I have a speech impediment. As if God's going to go, ah, crap, I forgot. Dang it! I knew I called the wrong person. Go get your brother Aaron. God responds, he goes, who made man's mouth? Who invented speech? That's going to be your issue? That little thing? And here's what God's saying to him. Here's what you have to understand about Moses. Moses was brought up by who? Pharaoh. Okay, if you guys know the story, the Egyptians, or the Israelites, the Hebrews were being persecuted. And Pharaoh issues this edict that all babies under the age of 2 years old are going to be thrown in the Nile River. This is historical fact. This isn't like, oh, well, just the Bible says this. No, we have this in Egyptian hieroglyphics. We have everything. We have proof of this event. So they take all the Hebrew babies and they chuck them in the Nile River to die. And Moses' mom thinks, okay, well, I'm going to make a basket and I'm going to put my baby in the basket and put him on the river at nighttime, and hopefully, maybe he'll make it. It's certainly a higher chance of them getting thrown into the river without a basket. So before they can throw him in the basket, I'm going to throw him in the river. I'm going to place him in a basket and set him adrift on the river. He ends up floating into Pharaoh's palace, and Pharaoh's wife is going to pick, or one of her maidservants are going to pick him up, and they're going to raise him in this household. Here's what this means. Here's God's sovereignty. God has had this plan in place for decades and decades. Why? Because where is Moses learning now? In Pharaoh's palace. He's getting a God King's education. He's meeting with foreign diplomats. Every day he's studying the edicts of different countries. He speaks different languages. He understands hieroglyphics. He gets Babylonian illustration. He gets all this stuff. And then Moses commits murder. He gets scared, so he runs into the land of Midian, where he needs to learn another new language. And it's ironic, when God called him to speak, Moses goes, speaking is my downfall. And God goes, you speak every language. If there's anyone who can speak, it's you. God didn't say, listen, you're really bad at speaking, but I want you to go to something you're bad at. No, Moses was a great communicator. He was great at verbalizing. But what was Moses' problem? Moses' problem was this. He was going to go speak to the Israelites, a language he hadn't spoken since he was an infant. But God said, don't worry, I'm going to be with you on that one. Well, how does this relate to us? Here's what it is. We have all these giftings in our life. We have all these abilities. And some of us, that one thing, that one mark on our resume. With Moses, it was, well, I'm not sure if I'm able to speak to them like that. We all have that one mark. Why don't we solidify that in 1 year? That one thing that we're not comfortable with. But we knew that if we were, we could be so much more productive in our life and for the kingdom of God. For some of you, that means this. Some of you are going to need to apply for our mission trip this year. Okay, we're going to Costa Rica. Listen, but here's what I said. I said apply for the mission trip. I didn't say you need to go on it. Because some of you, your comfort zone that you need to expand is getting rejected. Some of you aren't going to make it. That's still a comfort zone thing. I'll tell you personally about me growing up. I never competed in anything that I wasn't going to win. You guys are like, oh wow, Chris, people tell me all the time, what are you not good at? Guess what? I only really do stuff that I am good at. When there's something I'm not good at, I just don't do it. Why? Because I have a terrible insecurity in myself. Some of you need to shore that up in yourselves. Apply for the mission trip. If you get chosen, go. Expand your comfort zone. Know what it's like to go up to someone in a foreign country you don't know and try to speak a universal language to them, like laughter or love or joy or games. Those are universal languages that everybody uses. Maybe you're not comfortable with that. All of a sudden, you solidify that, you grow that in your comfort zone, and what was outside, which is world missions, now is inside your comfort zone, and now when someone's like, let's go to Australia, you're like, let's do it. Whatever. You just become more dangerous. Because instead of your little sphere of influence being the United States, specifically the western part of the United States, specifically the southwestern part, specifically just San Diego. All of a sudden, you look at the world, you look at the globe, and you're like, you know what, here I am, Lord, send me. That's a dangerous man. That's a dangerous woman who looks at the whole globe and goes, wherever. That's terrifying. But that's dangerous. That's the life we're aiming for. Expand your comfort zone. Don't step outside of it. You're going to have to at the beginning, but step out of it perpetually until it becomes part of it. Don't step out once and go, that was tickly, and then go back inside. Own that space until your zone morphs around it. Some of you, it means just talking to people you don't know. Some of you, it means that when you sit down at lunch, you don't sit down at your own table every time. You go sit at someone else's table. You go sit at Cucumber Larry's table, or whatever it is. He's Cucumber Larry. Well, he eats cucumbers all day. Everyone makes fun of him. Go sit at his table. You're like, I'm not going to sit by Cucumber Larry. Try it. He's sitting next to, he's right next to Garlic Larry. Right? Garlic and cucumber, they hang out. Here's my point. My point is this. They is like a snake and a human. They're as scared of you as you are of them. But eventually, what we've been called to is reach out to people, even if their name is Cilantro Larry. Okay? Be that person. Do that on the weekly. Just have that one meal a week at your school where you're like, who do I not know at all? Do you know how scary you are when your friends and your friends group and everyone else looks at you and they go, it's Wednesday. You know what that means? Kiana's not eating with us. Who's she going to eat with? I don't know. She picks someone new every week. That would be so crazy if that was what people said about you. It's Wednesday. Who the frick knows where she's going to go eat? That's cool. But it's also expanding our comfort zones. And then we get that little tug on our heart where somewhere where we know that this person needs our help and needs our love. But you've been sitting next to Cilantro Larry and Garlic Steve for so long that when God's like, hey, I need you right now, you go, you got it. Why? Because it's part of your comfort zone now. Expand your comfort zone. Number 2, practice generosity. Practice generosity. Practice generosity. Generosity, we always think, oh, this one doesn't apply to me because I don't make any money. That's not what generosity is at all. Can it be part of generosity? 100%. But what you do have, we get so caught up in what we don't have that we don't become generous with what we do. Be generous with your time. Be generous with your abilities. Be generous with what you are capable of doing. Well, I don't really know what it means to be generous with my time. I'll tell you what. There's a military breakfast coming up next weekend. Okay? All the military families in that go to North Coast Church, they come and they have got a breakfast, but they need childcare. And you just go, I'll be there. That's called being generous with your time and your abilities. Well, I can't give anybody money. Then show up and give them your time. Okay? Here's what Matthew 21 verse 6 says. Matthew 6 verse 21, I'm sorry. Backwards. Matthew 6 verse 21. This is awesome because a lot of great writers, especially American writers, have written about this concept. Whether it be Dale Carnegie, or whether it be Bonhoeffer, all these other people, okay, have written about this one concept. And God speaks it way before we wrote books about it. He says this. Matthew chapter 6. We'll read it in verse 19. It says, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth and rust do not destroy, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Growing up, I always did that backwards. It says, where your treasure is, that's where your heart will follow. I always thought it was, wherever your heart is, that's where you end up putting your money. That's your time, your talent. It's backwards. What God's calling us to do, He says, put your time, talents, and money somewhere, and you're going to be shocked by something. You're going to develop a love for that thing. Put your time, talents, treasure, money into something, you'll find you grow a deep empathy and love for it. Some of you did that on accident with your relationships. You spent time with somebody. You made an effort towards them. Now you really, really like them. You're like, when did this happen? What happened? Because you did this. Where you put your time, talents, and energy, you're going to be shocked that your heart's going to follow you. Your heart follows. Your brain tells your heart where you want it to be. Okay? So what does this mean for us? Well, you want to tell your heart what to treasure? Have your brain tell your body where to give its time, talent, energy, and money. You go, I want to love to go to church. I want to love 11:12 like these other kids are loving 11:12. Why do they love being here? Why do they love being on part of the leadership team? Why do they love being part of this community? You want to do it? You want to have your heart follow? Have your brain tell your body where to lead. Go be part of it. Go join leadership. Invest time. Invest your talents. Be there for others, and you're going to find that your heart has been skipping along behind you the whole time. You'll eventually catch up. And your heart will then arrive at the place where your time, talent, and treasures have been. Okay? Practice generosity. Number 3. Overcommit. This is my favorite. Overcommit. This is my favorite. Yes. Overcommit. You may have heard somebody yelling this outside at some point, because we say it a lot in here in ElevenTwelve. Especially when someone breaks their face driving for a frisbee. We're like, overcommit. This is what overcommit means. Overcommit does not mean commit to everything. It means commit to the things that you commit to in an extreme way. It means what you have chosen to make priority in your life, do it. Do it. Just do it. Just go. Sorry, that was super loud because it was in my thing. My little microphone right here. Okay. The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 9. 1 Corinthians. What does Paul have to say about overcommitting? 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Verse 24. Do it! I'm just kidding. That's not what it's saying. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Verse 24. If you're tired of starting over, stop. Here's what Paul likens it to. And some of you are realizing this. This life is this terrible marathon. When I say terrible, I mean in every sense of the word. It's terrifying, it's awful at times, and it's the most excellent thing ever at times. But one thing that is true is there's seasons. And in every situation where there's seasons, there's also time elapsing. This life thing is long and difficult. And Paul says this thing is like this marathon race. Here's what he says. That's what he likens our life to. Verse 24, 1 Corinthians 9. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Now that he's made sure that you know that, we're on the same page. He goes, now let me tell you something. Here's what you should do. Run. In other words, live your life in such a way that you accomplish this prize. Run in such a way that that prize will be yours. Okay? And that's heaven. And heaven is both now and not yet. You guys get that? Heaven is here, it's present. It's when we say the word near can mean two things. It can mean proximity and time. Right? I am near Macy. Okay, Macy, when's your birthday? January 20th. My birthday is more near than Macy. So that's time. I'm near Macy, but her birthday is not near now. It's both time and proximity. So it says the kingdom of God is near. Heaven is near. It's here. In the sense of it's all around us. God is present in these places. Heaven is here, and it's also not yet. This isn't our perfected world. This isn't life everlasting. But life everlasting does begin today. Because our life never ends. It just keeps going with the Energizer Bunny. Right? You feel me? Run in such a way to accomplish the prize. That prize is two things. One is that in this life we live the best life possible. John 10:10. Not moralistically, not to just accomplish feeling good about ourselves, but we run in such a way that our prize is we bring other people along with us when we reach the finish line. And secondly, we live and believe in such a way that that ending goal at the end of our life, heaven, becomes ours. Do you not know that in a race all runners run but only one gets the prize? Therefore, run like you want to win. Verse 25. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like a man running aimlessly. What does it look like to be a man running aimlessly? It looks like a man who is not a man of his word. A woman who does not take commitment seriously. You kind of haphazardly throw some time at this, you throw some time at that, you commit a little bit over here. Is it in this passage? No, but wait, is it? Yeah, I do not fight like a man beating the air. That's what your life looks like. You throw like a half jab over here, and then your opponent's standing right here the whole time, but you're like, get some. And you're expending so much friggin' energy, but not getting any closer to becoming who you're supposed to be. And you're punching in all these directions, and yeah, every once in a while, you might get it hidden. Meanwhile, your opponent's just saving up for when you go, and then you die. He punches you so hard, and you're not going to get your arms to defend yourself. Okay? That's what it means when you don't know how to overcommit to something, you don't have to commit to anything, you just halfway commit to everything. That's how your life looks. Okay? This life, the greatest joys you will get from this life are when you overcommit to something and you see it through. Every time. Friggin', what's marriage? I pledge my life to you in rich or poor, sickness and health, till death do us part. No matter what, in any situation where God has joined together, may no man separate. This is what I pledge to you. That's an overcommitment. That's what we're called to do. When you friggin' see your kid for the first time, what is that but overcommitment? Today, Paige is in Utah at this convention for one of the youth saw, and it's like the health stuff that she works with and everything. Peyton's diaper came halfway off. He pooped and peed on her lap at convention. It's a 20-minute walk to their hotel room. And it was halfway through the presentation that was 3 hours long. So she had to sit there, covered in fecal matter, for an hour and a half. And then had to clean it off, and then had to walk with this wet outfit all the way back to the hotel. That's what parenting is. It's overcommitment. But it's being you have this crazy, strict understanding of what it means to commit to something. Okay? This is what Paul's talking about. Here's what I'm saying to you guys. You need to create self-trust. Create self-trust. Believe that your word means something. Some of you, I've even watched you, and when you say yes to something, you already know that you're lying. You have no self-trust. You don't believe that you're going to do anything you say you're going to do, so you say you're going to do everything. There's a word for you. It's called a flake. Okay? Be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'll be at your art show for sure. And in your brain, you're going, there's no friggin' way I'm going to go to your art show. This is what James says about this. James 5, verse 11 to 12. Do not swear or make an oath, but simply let your yes be yes and your no be no, in order that you might avoid condemnation. Okay? So this is what it says. It says a lot of people in their life, because they don't know how to commit or to overcommit to stuff, they try to use fancy language to try to reassure you. When the strongest word from someone is one that can be trusted. So here's what it sounds like. They're like, no, seriously, like last time I didn't come, but like this time I swear I'll be there. Like I promised on my leg. Like if I'm not there, I'm seriously like, I'll never even look at my leg. I'm not gonna cut it off because that's ridiculous, but like, I swear to God. I swear on my family. And this is what this thing's saying. It says, live in such a way that when you say the word yes, everyone just knows you're gonna be there. Live in such a way that when you say no, people understand they need to make other arrangements. You're not flaky, you're not flip-floppy, you overcommit to what you're going to do. You develop that self-trust. I get offended when people go, are you sure you're going to be there? Are you sure you're going to be there? Part of it's because we've grown up in a culture where I need to like reassure you 88 times because there's so many flakes. And the reason I get offended is because sometimes I've been guilty of this in the past and I hate that people bring it up. I want to live in such a way that when you come and you say, hey, I've got this going on, will you write a reference for me? I go, yes. And you go, okay. It's as if my reference has already been written. That's how sure I am that Hilton's going to follow through with what he said he's going to do. So what does it mean to overcommit this year? Overcommit to discipline. That's your first subheading there. Overcommit to discipline. How do you overcommit to discipline? Find creative accountability. That's just another subheading behind discipline. What does it mean to find creative accountability? It means you partner up with somebody this year and go, hey, we're going to read through this whole freaking book, this whole Bible in 1 year. We're going to read 2 chapters in the Old Testament, 1 chapter in the New Testament, and a chapter in the book of Psalms every day for a year. Bless you. No, that's holy. And you go, you know what we're going to do? Here's what we're going to do. This is happening in college. My buddy's like, here's what you need to do. You put in $365 into this little account thing that we have, this little box. I'll put in $365. Every day that we do our reading, we get to take $1 out. And if there's a day that I do my reading and you don't do yours, I get to take $2 out. And it was just a fun system we had of doing stuff. So every day, I read through the whole Bible. He read through most of the Bible, and I had more money. It was creative, but it was a way that worked for me. How do you find ways that work for you? How can you make a foolproof system by which you hold true to the disciplines that are in your life? Like creative accountability. Disciplines. The second thing is growth groups. Overcommit to your growth group. I think sometimes we get in this habit, especially I'm talking to you guys like you're long-term Christians or people who perceive themselves to be like super high and mighty, the Pharisees in our group. It's okay. We're cut from the same cloth. I am where you are. We often think like, I'm not getting fed in my growth group. Like I'm not being challenged. Well, if you think that you're at that place, then go to growth group to challenge other people. Go to be that person for them. Go to pour into somebody else. Okay? You don't need that little baby bird. It's like, no one's feeding me. Go feed somebody else. Okay? Look at growth groups as that. And here's the ironic thing. When you're really good, when everything's great in your life, sometimes those commitments that you make, after 13, 15, 17, 22 weeks into the school year, when you've been going to growth group every week, you're going to be like, I got to get up and go to growth group again. Maybe I'm going to, maybe I'm not going to. Okay? But here's the thing. Your life, you're going to come across problem situations in your life where you're going to have to write a check to that growth group. Okay? It's a check about, hey, tonight, this growth group, I want to tell you guys something, and it's big. I'm hurting really bad, and I need your prayer. And when you've been investing every week, even the weeks when nothing's wrong with you, you're just listening to other people, there's going to be 1 week where you have to write a check to that growth group and going, hey guys, I'm cashing this in right now. I need you right now really bad. But if you've been paying into growth group all year, that check's not going to bounce. People are going to be like, yeah, for sure. You've been there for me. You were there for Nikki when she was going through that thing. You were there for Spencer when he was going through that thing. We don't have co-ed growth groups, but I'm just saying there's guys and girls, you know what I mean? Don't think that growth group is always for the times that everything's easy. That's when you make deposits. And then when life gets hard, you make withdrawals on those deposits. I can't tell you what's more annoying than not seeing someone for 51 weeks. They show up the 52nd week and they go, hey guys, I want to talk to you. And we're going to go, who are you? Like, who are you? What are you doing? Overcommit. Can you imagine this? Imagine that you said to yourself, I will not miss one growth group this next year. Not one time. Not once. Not one time. What about once? No! Nay, the once. At the end of the year, 1 week your parents pull you because they want to take you on vacation, you missed one. Still at the end of the year, you can go, I missed one growth group. 1 out of 52. That's like, what the how did you do that? That's amazing. That's the kind of commitment that we're talking about. Last but not least, bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. Listen, some of you guys are going to get offended right now. That's okay. I'm okay. Okay? I have enough friends. I don't need any more. And one of my favorite things when people come up to me, they go, you offended me this week. And I'm like, the gospel is always offensive. The truth. And here, I'm going to start before I say anything is this. Something I find really ironic is when I'm not challenging someone personally or challenging you personally, do you guys think I'm a pretty smart person? Across the board, do you picture me as someone that's fairly wise? Yes. Okay. I'm a pretty good pastor, whatever that means, whatever a good pastor means. I know Scripture well, right? There's probably not 5 people in your life that you know personally that know the Bible better than I do. I'm pretty confident in that. I mean, I freaking love the book, you know what I mean? I teach, I counsel, I do all this other stuff. And you go, no, I think in almost every area, I definitely trust him, his interpretation of Scripture, everything. But then that week comes up where I say something that you don't agree with, and you're like, I just think, this is how I see it, and I think you might be wrong on this one. It's ironic. Every other situation, I'm sitting there and you're sitting there going, preach it. And there's something that's against what you think, and you're like, I think you don't know anything about the Bible. I think you're so dumb. Could it be that even on that week where you don't agree or you don't see it, that my reputation and history is long enough that maybe I'm calling for you to re-examine something in yourself? At the end of the day, if I say it and you're like, I don't agree with anything you say, go somewhere else then. Go to another church, okay? Send me a hateful email to 1-800, we need your spot at camp anyway, okay? Listen. Is there an absolute love for everyone that comes in these doors? 100%. But I'm not here to be your friend. So if you're like, well, I'm not going to listen to you because we're not friends, then go somewhere where you're going to listen. As long as you're getting the word of truth, as long as you're getting Jesus, if what's stopping you from getting Jesus here is that you disagree when I talk about certain things because it offends you or it's not part of your paradigm, at least go somewhere where you can have that clean slate and listen to what's going on. Okay? You're not going to hurt my feelings. I promise you, I do not hold stock in having 17-year-old friends. I don't go home and I'm like, no. Do I love you 100%? This is what love looks like. Number 4. You should date like a first century Jew, okay? Date like a first century Jew. Date as if you were a first century Jew. I'm going to read this from the Message translation. It says this. Yes. That's what I said. This is 1 Corinthians 9, beginning of verse 24. It says this. The master did not give explicit direction regarding virgins, but as one much experienced in the mercy of the master and loyal to him in all the ways, you can trust my counsel. So in other words, here's what he's saying. Here's what he begins with. He goes, listen, look, this is what Paul is saying. He goes, look, there's not a lot written about dating, but there's a lot written about wisdom. And as someone who knows a lot about wisdom and a lot about Scripture, let me weigh in on this. Not that I'm saying that right now, but kind of. Because of the current pressures on us from all sides, the temptations, I think it would probably be best to just stay as you are. Are you married? Definitely stay married. Are you unmarried? Don't get married. Because there's certainly no sin, but there's certainly no sin in getting married, whether you're a virgin or not. All I am saying is that when you marry, you take on additional stress in an already stressful time, and I want to spare you if possible. You're going, well, Hilton, you're talking about marriage. You're not talking about dating. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were in the first century, in your current dating relationships, no one would know that you weren't married. With the way that we date in this day and age, you are married. You are married. The only thing you don't do, presumably, maybe, hopefully, is that you haven't consummated that. Right? But you're spending time together. You're investing in each other. You're holding hands. You have physical interactions. No matter how far those go, you're perpetuating lustful thoughts. You're spending time alone. If you would have told someone in the first century that you were doing that with someone, that they would have gone, oh, so how long have you guys been married? You would go, you're not married. You go, well, then we're going to stone you to death. Because you don't do that. You just can't do that. Why? Because if I wanted to marry someone in the first century, my father went to her father and said, I want my son to marry your daughter. I didn't even have a say in it. Okay? We didn't hang out. We didn't see if we were cooperative. We didn't see if we got along well. That's not how it went. We were, based on wise counsel, put in a position by which we were married at the right time. This is the word in Greek called kurios, which means at the right time. Okay? It says a lot in Scripture. It says, do not awaken love until it's ready. Do not awaken love until it is ready. Okay? When I was growing up, I had a little brother named Chandler. And every Christmas morning, he would go to bed at like 8 p.m. and we would go to bed at like 10:30. But then he would wake up when we were going to bed and he'd be like, it's Christmas. And it's like, it's not time. It's not time to open that present. This is how we date. Like, wake up, it's time. It's like, no, it's not. It's not time. Not time. You can't get married. So you're just going to have a 5-year time where you're going to be hanging out, practicing all aspects of marriage, minus the physical part. Not. But you're going to be pouring, and then, at the end of that, chances are, 98% of those are going to end in some kind of breakup. Okay? So I do not speak to you. This is not, when I say biblical, I mean this is biblical wisdom. When it comes to relationships, when I start talking about wisdom, people go, well, is it a sin? No, then I'm going to keep doing it. Anything else I talk about wisdom, everyone's like, that sounds wise. In relationships, they go, if it's not biblical, I don't care. If God didn't say I couldn't date, then I'm going to date. Listen, here's where wisdom comes. Dating is this generation's what we call a sacred cow. Okay? Sacred cow is, it's like, don't touch that. Don't talk about that. Okay? Let me do what I want to do in this area. It's called a sacred cow. Okay? It is at your age, I'm going to say this. This is across the board. If any adult in the room disagrees, you can let me know. You can let me know, but you're not going to. Across the board, the most guilty party, I'm going to give you a list of everything that I've seen in the last 5 years. Across the board, the most guilty party for all of these problems has been dating. In fact, the first year we had Joshua team. There's only 30 people on Joshua team. At the end of the year, there were 27 people on Joshua team. The 3 people who left Joshua team, guess why they left Joshua team? Started dating someone. Dating is the most guilty party for the following. The most guilty party for sexual compromise, stunted spiritual growth, codependent dysfunction, misguided life decisions, division in friends group, ignoring wise counsel, lifelong neuroses, broken commitments of ministry, compromised convictions, family versus relationship severances, unrealized potential, distracted attention, mismanaged priorities, creating false paradigms in opposite genders, misconstruing a sovereign God in the face of a broken relationship, commitment issues, long-term intimacy issues, long-term sibling altercations, apathetic former friends, sexual objectification of women, sexual objectification of men, disregarding all truth because of threatened codependency. In other words, if you tell me that I shouldn't be with someone, I am leaving and not listening to you at all. That is what dating is, the greatest cultivator of all of those things. At our age. At your age. I try to do it so we can be like friends, but right now we're different ages. It's a little bit different. So I say that to say this. Am I saying if you're dating you're sinning? Heck no. And if you're gonna date, let's talk. And let's make sure that you're doing it well. But, just as Paul said, he said, but given what I know about dating, and what I know about wisdom, and what I know about this book, I would be morally remiss if I was like, you know what I recommend right now? In the face of the fact that these are all true, if someone comes up and they all of a sudden disappear for a while, the number one thing that I get as a reason is they started dating somebody. If there's a breakdown between a female or a male and their old group of friends, in other words, you've got a girl in your group that starts dating somebody, and then all of a sudden there's this severance between the two of you, that's almost always the reason why. When you ignore mentorship, most of the time, the reason is you started dating somebody who's telling you that what your mentors are saying is bullcrap, because your mentors are calling you to do something different than what your boyfriend or girlfriend is calling you to do. In the face of all of that, I can't stand here as your pastor, as shepherd, as someone who loves you and goes, you want to know what's a great idea? You want to know what's a really dangerous lifestyle? Is to date. It's not. It's not dangerous. A lot of times it stunts your spiritual growth. When the world says, knock it off, do this, you go to your girlfriend or boyfriend, they go, no. Listen, they're dumb. Let's make out. Right? So you got to hear me. It's very hypocritical that I'm speaking out of two sides of my mouth. One, if you're not dating and you want to live a very dangerous year, you make a commitment. You go, I'm not going to date for this next year. Can you imagine walking into a room and not getting a rip what the opposite gender thinks about you? That's scary. That's dangerous. But if you are dating, do not mishear me. Do it well. Do that relationship justice. But it's just like if one of my friends was like, I'm turning 21 and I want to go to Vegas. Is it possible that there's ever been a bachelor party that went to Vegas and people grew and it was great and they made great decisions? Sure. But if you come up to me and go, should I go to Vegas for my 21st birthday? I'm going to say, no. You should not. Wisdom says, do not. But everyone's got that one example. Well, my great-great-grandpa, him and his wife started dating when they were 17 years old and they're great. The fact that you can think of one example, you just proved my point. Do you understand that? I mean, like, all rappers are black. What about Eminem? You still prove my point. The fact that you can name somebody shows that I'm right. Because there's only like one. Don't hang your hat on that. That's what I want to say. Guys, that's a dangerous life. Dangerous life is you walk in the room, the person that you're concerned about is your relationship with Christ, pursuing Him in everything that you do. When you are expanding your comfort zone, there's no area of the room that you won't extend to. There's no person that you won't talk to. When you overcommit, you know that you're here. You know that you're going to be there for them. They know that they can count on you. When you practice these disciplines, and last but not least, if you walk in a room and you're not worried about what the other gender thinks about you, you just become this terrifying person. Because the other gender can't get to you. Your own gender, you've expanded your comfort zone enough to get to them. You're not worried about outside influences, and you have grown your comfort zone in such a way that no situation is a situation that you fear. That's called dangerous. Two sides of my mouth. If you're not dating, I wouldn't recommend it. If you are dating, do it well. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for giving us wisdom. Almost everything we've talked about today they're not sin issues. If we don't do overcommitment well, God, we're not going to hell. This has nothing to do with salvation or anything else like that. It's not even a sin. It's just, at the end of the day, what is wise? And God, we would love to be counted as dangerous. As it says in the book of Matthew, what would it look like for us to be known as a group of people that the gates of hell can't stand up against us when we approach? We want to be dangerous like you were dangerous. And you were dangerous. You were so dangerous that they nailed you to a cross so that you would stop. God, I would love to be known like that, in such a way that the influence that we had, because we committed to these things well, was so strong that this world feels like they need to do something drastic in order to stop us. I want to scare people, God. But I want to scare them in the same way that you did. With love, with commitment, with understanding who I was meant to be. And we pray. Amen. If you've got questions, send your hate mail. I already told you my email address. And we'll see you guys this Wednesday at Rowdy Out of Your House.